Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to Mr. B's podcast. I'm Mr. B, and I hope everybody's doing all right out there. Today, I just wanted to take a brief moment of time to speak about a commonly asked question that I get asked a lot about calls, emails, Facebook, yada, 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 when the information is right in front of you. Like literally it's right in front of you. I appreciate all the calls and contacts looking for information, but I intentionally put that information up on our website and it's readily available on the state's website as well. So the question I get asked a lot is how do I become a security guard in the state of New York, right? I want to be a square badge. You know, a lot of people ask, a lot of people don't know, so I'm just going to take a brief moment of time to speak about it. So, to become a security guard in the state of New York, there's a lot of stuff you have to do, right? So, if we think about the initial steps, right? Before even we start the initial steps with paperwork and application, training, and money orders and fingerprinting and right? So we need to understand what a security guard is and what a security guard does, right? You may not understand. You might have heard that being a security guard is just this wonderful thing and I want to act like I'm a cop or da 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 da. No, 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 no. In reality, that's not even correct, right? Security guards are not police officers. So if you think you're going to go into this to have some type of chip on your shoulder to tell people, boss people around, and act like a cop, I'm going to tell you right now, right off the bat, you're going to get yourself in trouble. You're going to get yourself jammed up, sued, arrested, right? So being a security guard encompasses a lot of things that need to be done, right? You need to have certain personal qualities, characteristics, and things along those lines because in the grand scheme of things, you're dealing with the public, right? So being a security guard is all about public, is all about customer service. Well, it's dealing with the public, right? It's kind of like a public service, right? Because if something goes down, who's the first person they're going to look for, right? Somebody in a uniform, a security guard, right? So it is public service dealing with the public, but it's primarily customer service, and it's really a healthy mix of customer service and making sure that a client's property, their assets, their people are safe and secure, right? So we need to make sure that deep down inside that it's something that we want to deal with before we even begin the process, right? So at any rate, right, a lot of people, they may not like dealing with people. They may not like speaking. They may not like giving directives to individuals who may be breaking the rules and regulations of the property or maybe doing something unsafe or even committing crimes. I mean, right? So if you're a security guard, you're like a cop, but you're not a cop. And I will always say you're not a cop, right? Because I want people to understand that. I don't want them to get themselves in trouble, right? So you need to be able to deal with people, conflict, as well as deal with your personal internal conflicts or whatever you might have going on, or whatever some of your beliefs might be inside. Because whatever your beliefs and are, they need to go out the window, right? So while you're working, right? So if and I don't want to get into politics or political anything like that, but if you were raised believing such and such, but now somebody comes up to you in the field as a security guard and they're the complete opposite of your beliefs, right? How do you have to treat them? You need to treat them, with respect, with dignity. You have to be able to deal with intrapersonal conflicts and resolution, right? So, security guards are there to help guide people, direct people, make sure everything is safe and secure, right? So Now we've established, okay, you listen to Mr. B. I think I'm a good fit to become a security guard, right? So there are various steps. There are various things that you need to do, right? So if you didn't listen to our website, right? You didn't listen to the state's website, what also tells you the same thing. And I'm going to show you the state's website as well. So, you can go on the website, listen to Mr. B. I'll put some of the links in the description, and that's you just follow it, get it done, and then hopefully you can get a job. So the first step in the actual paperwork process, right, is what I would say is you need to actually get yourself the application, right? So how are you going to get the application, right? So the application can be downloaded from the state's website, and I'm trying to bring it up here on the computer. Let's see, just bear with me just 1 second. Why won't the damn thing show up? Bear with me just 1 second, right? All right, so we're gonna start off with Google, right? So I can go to Google. I can type in how to become a security guard in New York State, right? Make it simple. Don't pay attention to their AI stuff. I mean, it pulls from the websites and compiles the data and tells you, but it's best to go directly to the Department of State's website, right? So, right here, how to become a security guard, Department of State, New York State, right? So, we go over there, we click that, boom, it takes us to some information, right? Right off the bat, if you scroll down the page, it gives you what the requirements are to become a security guard in the state of New York, right? Obviously, you need an application. You definitely need to pay them. And I'll say that again, make sure you pay them. You need to be 18 years old. You have to get fingerprinted. You cannot be convicted of a serious crime. Have a current driver's license or non-driver ID, and you need to complete some training, right? So if we clicked training requirements, it tells you right off the bat what training you need, initial training as well as your annual trainings, right? To become an armed guard, we're not going to speak about that today because it's a whole another topic. But right, so you want to become a security guard, right? You go to the state's website, make sure it's the state's website. Scroll down the page, click right here, employee statement. Let me try to zoom in for you guys. Right, here we go. Employee statement, security guard application, right? English, whatever other language that you maybe want to fill it out in, right? You got Spanish, Haitian, Italian, Korean, Russian, and Chinese, right? So pick what you want, whatever you speak. So English. So now we have the application here from New York State, right? What you need to do is you need to print it out, right? So at any rate, it gives you all of the information, again, that's on their website, but just in a little more detail. We're not going to go through everything. We're just going to go through the meat and potatoes of what you need to know. Right, so you don't really have to download anything before page 4. What you really need, though, well, you need to understand those pages, but what you really need is this section that looks like here, the actual application. Right, it's 2 pages unless you want to donate your organs if you should ever expire. And it's all the information that you need, right? So once you print this out, you need to take some classes, right? You need to take a 16-hour. I'm sorry, you need to take an 8-hour pre-assignment, which is an 8-hour course. It's an introductory course as to the roles and responsibilities of security guards. It tells you some legal powers and limitations, emergency situations, some expectations, and so on and so forth, right? But when you take the 16-hour, it's much more in-depth course about the same type of topics. However, it is a lot more detail, right? So that's why it's a 16-hour class, right? So anyway, so you got the application, you see how it looks. Okay, this is how it's going to have to be filled out when it's time to go to the state, right? Then you have to get a $36 money order, which you need to attach at a later date before you send the stuff to the state. So I tell people, obviously, understand what a security guard is and does. Make sure you have the personal qualities, characteristics of somebody who can be a security guard. Come on the state website, look at the application. It tells you everything you need, right? It's almost an exact duplicate of the information that's on the Department of State's website, right? So next, you need to take the first step in training, right? You need to contact an approved training school. We are an approved training school. We do the 8 and the 16 as well as the annuals. So at any rate, you need to contact the school. You need to tell them, hey, look, I want to become a security guard. I need to take your next 8-hour pre-assignment, right? They'll get you set up. We'll get you set up. You show up. We'll do the entire 8 hours. We'll make it fun. We'll make it interesting. This way you don't get boring. You don't get bored. But again, it's a combination of just basic information that you need to do your job as a security officer. So at any rate, once the 8 hours done, technically, you can go get fingerprinted right now. So how would you go get fingerprinted? So on the actual application itself, right, go to electronic fingerprinting procedure. You see right here, whoops. You see right here where it says Identigo? Click it. So now it's taking us to this website, right? But I'm sorry, before that, you need to record a number because it's important. You don't want to confuse yourself. So when it's time to get fingerprinted, you need the electronic service code. It tells you this electronic service code right here on the application, right? So what I would do is I would go copy. Then I would go to Identigo. It brings up Identigo here. And then what you would do is you would put in, you would click Get Fingerprinted. It would ask you the state. You would click New York State. As this podcast is related to New York State, you would click Digital Fingerprinting. Here, in the entry box, it says enter your service code, right? So Control V, or any way that you had copied it, and all you're doing is pasting it in there, right? So you click that, schedule appointment, go through all of the prompts, fill out all your information, select your identification, verification documents, and it'll ask you towards the end, like, okay, this is the closest Identigo fingerprinting location. So you want to pick the one that's closest to you, and it'll give you like a rundown of dates, times that they have slots available. Just pick it, show up with your documentation, and if it doesn't ask you to pay on the website, be ready to pay in person. So once all that's said and done, you'll get a confirmation email, and that covers the fingerprinting portion. However, it is very important, and I say this repetitively to individuals, right? So I say, it is very important that you get multiple copies of your receipt. Should I say that again? It is very important that you get multiple copies of your receipt. Now, why do I say that? So, if you only got one copy of the receipt, and you mailed your stuff to the state, and for some reason, your entire application packet got lost in the mail. Now you're out of luck, because hopefully you can go back to the Identigo location and they'll reprint your receipt. Or you might get somebody who says, look, I'm sorry, you got to come back again and get fingerprinted and pay us again all over because we can't find you in the system, or we can't find a receipt, or we can't reprint you a receipt, right? So it's important to understand when you go to Identigo appointment and it's all said and done, you need to make sure you have multiple copies of receipt, at least 2. I asked for 3, at least when I first started, very a long time ago, right? So I have one for me, one for the state, and one backup because the original receipt needs to be sent to the state. So at any rate, we got fingerprinted, okay, we showed up to the 8-hour pre-assignment. We take the 8-hour pre-assignment. The instructor, excuse me, the instructor gives me a copy of the certificate of completion for the 8-hour. Technically, at this point, right, at this point, I can actually apply to the state to be a security guard. However, what I tell people is, hey, look, if you got the money, you just want to get the training out of the way, why don't you take the 8-hour pre-assignment and the 16-hour on the job or on-job training? Take it all in the same week if you have time. Get it done and over with, right? So when we do the 16-hour, where I'm not sitting in the classroom for 16 hours. Are you crazy? Not at one shot. So I don't think any other instructors do it that way anyway. It's too long, right? So what I do is I break it up between 2 days. So it'll be broken up between 2 days, and when you actually book it on our website, it's broken up 2 days as well. This way, okay, you've said, you know what? I only have the money for day 1, which is 8 hours. You go ahead and book, you pay just half of what the full extent of the course would be, right? And then you go, you know what? I have the money for day 2 now. Let me go on Mr. B's website. Let me book day 2 with them and pay them. And, you pay, it gives you confirmation, da-da-da-da-da. And then you just show up to our class. You show up, have your, if it's your first time with us, have a copy of your social security card so we can verify your information. Have a copy of your driver's license so we can also verify your information. So those are the 2 documents you need to bring for any training with Mr. B Security Training Center. So once again, social security card, driver's license for us to verify, right? Because the state wants us to verify that the individual, in fact, in front of us is who they say they are, right? So go, get the 8-hour, get the 16-hour, make sure you get certificates, right? So even though we break it between 2 days for the 16-hour, it's one class. So you're not going to do day 1 and you're going to get a day 1 certificate. No, you're not. You're not going to do a day 2 and just get a day 2 certificate, right? So when you finish the first and you finish the second day, at the second day you get the actual certificate for the entire class of the 16-hour, right? So you get the copy of the 8-hour pre-assignment certificate. You get the 16-hour certificate as well. Now, if we go back to the application, right, and just bear with me. So now if you go back to the actual application, right, so now we have the application up. So obviously, look, initial training, right? These sections here, 8-hour pre-assignment, 16-hour on the job, right? I tell people get it all done at once. So we'll talk about annual training in a little bit. I don't want to get into exemptions unless you're law enforcement or something like that. Military, call us. Call us directly because we'll be sitting here all day if we go through the exemptions, right? So what you want to do is, so you don't get yourself confused, right? What a lot of people do when they fill out this application is they mess these lines up, right? They mess the lines up. So what I recommend to keep it simple, right, is, and keep it neat and clean, I recommend people to go onto the state's website, download the application, and type your application out, right? So I don't want to fill out the whole thing here, but let's just do it so you can see and understand the process. So obviously we have the application, right? Keep in mind you're still going to owe the state $36. No way around it. You got to pay them. So I would go, okay, so I want to be a security guard. I want to help people. I want that 5% discount from the pizza store and the food court. So I would click security guard, right? I would fill my name just like this. Right? Just like that. 123 Main Street. let's say apartment 1 in Newburgh, New York, 12550, County of Orange. Then I would put my phone number, which is 555-555-5555, right? And then I'll put my email at yahoo.com, my social security number, a whole bunch of zeros. Wait. Oops. There you go. It's our social security number, our date of birth. We'll make something up. What's today's date? Oh, 12/7. When was I born? I was just born today, actually. And then my driver's license, client ID number, something like that, right? So don't get yourself confused when you fill out the application, right? If you handwrite it, sometimes people, they assume last name goes here. Next thing you know, you get halfway down the damn page and you're like, oh, well, what the hell am I supposed to put this? So it's easier, simpler just to type it, right? Because the fields are already pre-filled. This is where people also get confused, but there's no need to get confused. Mr. B is here to help you, right? So question number 1, are you active law enforcement? Active or retired? I'm sorry. Are you active or retired peace officer? Are you? If you are, if you ever were, check the appropriate box. But if you're none of that, don't check anything, right? Don't check anything. Are you active retired police officer? Are you? If you are, check the appropriate box. If you're not, leave those 2 sections blank. Don't do anything with them. Don't cross them out. Don't do anything, right? So, has your license or permit issued to you or your company in which you are or were a principal in the state of New York or elsewhere? Basically, has it ever been revoked? Have you ever had a license, any type of professional license, corporate license, has it been revoked, right? If you were ever a security guard, was it ever revoked, right? Answer yes or no based on your information. Have you ever been discharged from, let's sum it up, from any type of law enforcement, correctional type of employment for anything related to incompetence, misconduct, da 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 da. Yes or no? You pick which one's the appropriate answer. Then you have you ever applied in this state for a registration license as a security guard? Have you? This is important, right? Because as a first-time applicant, right, you're going to say no if you've never applied for a security guard registration or license in the state of New York. But if you were a security guard, let's say 10 years ago, right, and the state tells you, hey, look, you want to become a security guard now, but you haven't been active in our system for 10 years, right? We want you to take all the training all over again, and we want you to apply again, right? So in this section here where it says, have you ever applied for a license or registration, that type of person, right, who's been a security guard, they let their stuff lapse, you would say yes. Then they're going to want you to provide, okay, what was your UID number back then? Basically, UID's number is the security guard license number, right? And they want to know what it is because they're going to look you up. They're going to say, okay, we have a training, so it's important to put your information there, right? And they're telling you right off the bat, if you have, you do not need to take the 8-hour pre-assignment course. Wait a second. This is pretty interesting. This is a new form here. Okay, yeah, so this did come out here. See, you learn something every day, that's pretty interesting. So the state is on the ball. We're trying to answer most of the questions so they don't have to get bombarded with calls. So wow, that's pretty good. So at any rate, child support, do you owe child support? They probably know already. Just know that if you have outstanding child support or arrears and you're intentionally avoiding paying those responsibilities, there's a possibility that your license could be suspended at a later date, right? So even your driver's license could be suspended, right? Because they want you to answer their summons, right? They want you to start paying back. And actually, in most cases, as an employer, it's not even up to you as an employee, and it's not even up to us, right? They'll send a letter saying such and such owes this much child support. This is a court order. We're telling you to garnish his wages or her wages, right? So then we have to take that money from you, and then we have to remit it to the appropriate collection individuals, the collection entity, and we do that every payroll. There's no way around it, right? So, and if you were trying to somehow circumvent it, it would only catch up to you. You would get into more trouble. So it's better. Look, if you have responsibilities, I understand there's dynamics. Oh, I don't give a damn about that woman, but I love my kid. But I don't want to give no money to the woman because she go out and get her nails and her hair done with my money. I want to give the kid the stuff directly. But hey, look, buddy, when the court gets involved, you have no say what happens, right? The state will tell you this was your responsibility. That's your obligation. Now we're telling you we're taking the money from you, right? And if you try to hide it, they're going to find it, right? If you change bank accounts, it may take a week, it may take 2 weeks, it may take a couple of months, but they're going to find out, right? And as soon as you keep jumping bank to bank to bank, the banks have it. All right, let's not go off a tangent, but the banks have a system, right, that basically flags, right? All banks are on it. And I think it's called checks or something like that, a checks system. And if you're a person who jumps from bank to bank, or you close account, or close account, if over a period of time, their AI, their algorithms will flag you as like either a redliner or potential fraud, right? So you can only jump bank to bank so many times before you go somewhere and they won't let you open a bank account anymore. A lot of people don't know that. But at any rate, banks are required by law to report certain information. So if you try to circumvent paying child support, it's not going to work. Eventually, it's going to catch up to you. That money will always be there and will continue to grow. So it's important just to take care of it, man. It's not going to go away. It's just going to hold you back. Take care of it. Pay your the obligation and just be done with it. So if we think about criminal history now, right? So if you have a criminal history, the state already knows. Trust me, the state knows. They just want you to be honest about it. They want your side of it because not a lot of people get to tell their side, right? So in court, excuse me, you might not get to talk about what really happened, but for some reason you accepted a plea deal and you pled it down to a lesser charge, right? But the state doesn't know that. They just know, hey, look, such and such was arrested on such and such date. These were the court dates. And this was the final outcome. Or, hey, look, this is the final outcome. The court, it was sealed, right? So they're going to want information. They're going to want to know, hearing your own words, what happened, right? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones to decide if they're gonna license you or not. So I get asked, oh my goodness, I get asked this question a lot, right? Can I be a security guard if I am a convicted felon? Do you guys know the answer? Can somebody be a security guard in the state of New York if they are a convicted felon? So, what's the answer? So, what I can tell you from my experience, right? So, there are court cases out there where individuals were convicted felons in the past for something. The Security Council, Supreme Court said, all right, look, you can't discriminate really against somebody's their criminal history unless it's something wild, right? You can't discriminate, right? And so us as a school, it's not our job to tell you you can or cannot be a security guard based on a misdemeanor or a felony. Our job is only to train you, right? You could be a convicted felon and come to us for training, and we have to train you, right? So it's not up to us. That's why there's an application. It's the state. The state is the one to decide if they're going to give you a license or not the school, right? So, and excuse me a second. My phone is always ringing. Even though I'm on a podcast, I have to I have to pay attention to my phone because business is always going on, you know. But at any rate, we can't discriminate. Sometimes we don't even ask, so we just try to give you the right information, right? If you're a convicted felon, there's a chance that you can be a security guard in the state of New York, a licensed security guard. However, it's up to the application and how you present your case to Division of Licensing or Department of State, right? So just remember that if you were ever convicted of anything, on another piece of paper, type up what had happened. Be honest with them because they know already. They just want to hear it out of your voice, out of your mouth. Here is just a checklist, right? It just tells you everything. It's, you know, use this checklist to make sure you don't miss anything, right? It'll be unfortunate, right? You put everything together. Next thing you know, oh my goodness, I forgot to send the state $36. Now what's going to happen at the state's office, right? They're going to get your paperwork. They're going to say, what? This person didn't pay us no money. We're not sending them, no security guard license. We got to get paid. We're a business too, right? And I understand them for that. But you don't want to get in a situation where you miss something so basic as that. Now your application is getting delayed another 2-3 weeks, month, 2 months, right? So use this checklist. Whoops, I didn't even have it up on the screen when I was talking to you guys. See, look, it's a learning process here. I don't have a production team. I just do my own thing here. So let's see. There we go. So at any rate, so let me just go back to show you guys. I don't know what you saw and what you did not see, but here's basically the entire process. These are the questions that I talked about, the checklist. Child support, we talked about. Criminal history, we talked about, right? So this, now that you can see it, is the checklist that you need to go off of, right? You don't want to send all your crap into Albany and next thing you know, you forgot something so basic, right? So as you go along the process, okay, I completed the application. Okay, I got the proof of fingerprinting. I got the receipt. Okay, I went and I got $36 money order from the post office, right? So there's other things you can do instead of a $36 money order, right? You can download it's called a credit card authorization, and it's on the state's website, right? So this is a little pro tip, right? Because I've been around the block for a little bit. So at any rate, it's a pro tip. So if you want to track your application, right, there's something that I tell people to do. You download that credit card authorization, and as soon as you see on your pending debit card, credit card transactions on your, your banking statement, mobile banking, right? If you see something that says NYS or something like NYDTF or DFT, something like that, I can't remember, but I think it's DTF. If you see that as a pending transaction or a completed transaction, it means that the state's financial office has received that credit card authorization. So now in your head, you're like, okay, great. So now I can see, I know exactly the state got my stuff because they went and they took the money. So it is up to you if you want to send a $36 money order or you want to send a $36 credit authorization, right? So let me see. New York State Security Guard credit card authorization. So let me just make sure this is yes. So this is the form you can send to them. Just understand, if you send this in the mail, there's really no way you can ensure that nobody who's unauthorized between your house and Albany. There's no guarantee that it won't be intercepted and maybe your information stolen. So be careful when you send your credit card information. Right? So you just fill it out. Make sure you put all the information. Important here. Make sure that you put your phone number down here. Why is that? Because if they try to put the transaction through and for some reason you wrote down a 7 that looked like a 1 and they put a 1 in, it's going to get declined. And the state's going to want to call you and say, hey, look, can you confirm your credit card information with us, right? So it's important to put your phone number down there. And then obviously don't forget to sign it, date it to give the authorization. So another thing that I recommend is you put down your the 3-digit code from the back of the card, not the PIN for the card, right? Don't be foolish. The authorization number on the back, right? The CVV or CSV, whatever the heck it's called. You want to put that down, write it down like somewhere over here maybe, and then make a note, hey, if there's a problem, give me a call. Call me later, right? So As a pro tip, you can download the credit card authorization for all state fees, right? So at any rate, make sure you put a copy of the 8-hour, your certificate. Make sure you include any documentation on a separate piece of paper answering anything that they wanted to know, right? Explain yourself for your arrest. That's your time to shine and make it, to be honest with them, to let them know, hey, look, I did commit a crime when I was younger, or even I did commit a crime maybe last week. And I think if it's last week, it might be too fresh for them. But at any rate, just explain to them. Be honest. They're going to know already, right? They are the state. They're the government. They're going to know what's on record. Employment notice of, all right, so this notice of employment section, right? You don't have to worry about this, right? The only people who need to worry about that is the employer. So just saying that you got fingerprinting, you got your 8-hour, you got all that stuff, application, and you went to Mid-Hudson Security Consultants, LLC, for an unarmed security position, right? You would come in, you would meet with Mr. B, and I said, hey, this is Mr. B. Thank you for coming in for the interview. Just tell me a little bit about yourself, please, right? And then, whatever. So if I decide that I want to hire you, and you're not a licensed security guard yet, right, what can I do? What can you do, right? So notice of employment section. I would fill out this section here. I would put all the time that we hired. There is a private system that we use to get a transaction number to show that we ran your background with them and it came back hireable or not, right? If you don't have anything in the system, it'll probably say hireable, yes, but no security guard license on file, right? So we would get that transaction number, the date, the time, your name, social security number, and our watch guard patrol agency license would go down, name of the employer, Mr. B's name would go down here, and we would sign it, right? So notice of employment section is only for if you're not a licensed security guard at the moment, but you're going to get it, right? So just saying you wanted to become a security guard, right? You don't have your license. You technically could be hired. Let me see how I can word this cautiously. Technically, you can be hired with proof of an 8-hour certificate, what you did, the pre-assignment, and proof that you went and got fingerprinted, right? So let me say it again. Technically, you can start working as a security guard temporarily because the state don't know who you are yet, right? So the notice of employment section is for the security company to fill out. So we can fill it out. We can give you a temporary license only. I say it again. We can give a temporary security license only if you give us a copy of the fingerprinting receipt from Identigo and you give us a copy of the 8-hour pre-assignment being conducted, right? So if that applies to you, we would fill that out. You wouldn't have to worry about that. But we would need to fill that out and sign it so the state knows we gave out a temporary ID. So now, I never fill this out. Like, look, if you wanna give up your organs in event of an accident or you're untimely death, go ahead and fill this out, right? So, self-explanatory, right? Put down what you want. So that is the entire application process, right? And also, if you have your 16-hour. Include your 16-hour in the packet, too, to get it out the way, right? Because, I'd rather just get everything, one and done with. Get it done and over with. At any rate, so obviously, if we're, notice of employment section, we would fill that out. And, right, if you're doing armed guard, you would include a 47-hour certificate of retraining, blah, 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 right? And we said statements about any, prior convictions, right? So don't forget to sign it because they will send you everything back and say, hey, look, they'll highlight it and say, look, you didn't sign it, buddy, and then make sure you date it, right? So that is the entire paperwork application process, what you need to do, right? Make sure you send them $36. Make sure you send it to this full address. No, not the phone number. Make sure you send it to the full address here, right? Don't get confused, right? Don't get confused. Don't get confused with the credit card authorization form. Let me see if I can pull it up again. Credit card, right? So let's see. Oh, I wonder did they actually change the dates? I mean, change the address here. Let me see. So, oh God, thing changed. Right. So if you were to download an older copy of the application of the credit card authorization form, you'll see two different addresses, right? Um, let's see, credit card authorization. At any rate, right, I'll just show you here briefly. Right, Department of State, blah, 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 Department of License, P.O. Box here. That is the credit card authorization, right? Now, if we go over to the application, what do you guys notice here? All right, it's two different P.O. boxes. Who should you send it to? Who should you send it to, right? So the place that you're going to send all your stuff to, the place that you're going to send all your stuff to is here on the security guard application. Don't get confused. Don't confuse them. Oh, Lord, please, no. Don't confuse them, right? Keep it simple. Send everything here. Make sure it's correct. It's full. Exactly that. Send everything there to Albany, right? They'll get all your paperwork and blah, 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 blah. And, if they want to send it to the financial department, they'll just send it to them to process it. So that is the entire extent of the application process here. Let's make sure we didn't miss anything, right? So we'll talk about annual in just a minute. We're not going to get into exemptions and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, that is everything for the application process. You completed the application. You got 8-hour, 16-hour certificate showing you completed it. You got the fingerprinting receipt. You got $36 money order or the credit card authorization, other statements about if you were ever arrested, child support, and things along those lines, right? So then you also need, let's see, make sure you sign, the heck is it, right? So make sure you sign it because they're going to, when you sign here, you sign that the information is correct. You're not forging anything. You're not lying about anything. And you're also authorizing them to take your picture at the Department of Motor Vehicles, right? So if you got a learner's permit when you were, I don't know, I can't even remember that in a long time. I'm an old man. If you got a learner's permit when you were, I think it's 12 years old, maybe you can get it, or 16. I don't know. Let's just say you got a learner's permit back then. And you're just some young individual. Meanwhile, in all reality, right now, you're about 70 years old, right? So you're going to get a security license with a picture of a 12-year-old on it, right? No, they're not going to like that. So they're going to want you to go to the DMV and get an updated photo because they're not going to give you a security license with some teenager on it like that when all reality is we're far past that age. So, and if you want, you can go to the DMV anytime, and I think it's $10 and update your picture, right? Go there, make sure everything's nice and good, everything cheese, take a picture, But the section here, the signature section is where you're authorizing the DMV to use your pictures and blah, 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 right? So, that's the application process. Now, what happens thereafter, right? You wait. Make sure you send the stuff in one envelope. Make sure the envelope is secure. Make sure, of all things, make sure the money is in there, right? They're not going to do anything without the money. So make sure it's complete. Make sure it's sealed. Make sure it's addressed properly. Send it off to the state, and, you just wait, right? And now if you get curious or if you're impatient, right, you can use the credit card authorization form to gauge if they got it or not, or you can also send the stuff to them priority mail with tracking, right? Don't put signature confirmation on it because it's a P.O. box. Put just tracking number on it. If you're really curious or you got anxiety, right, you're impatient, whatever, Just put tracking on it. No signature confirmation, because just saying somebody has to sign for it and they're not standing right next to the post office box, the post office is going to attempt to deliver it 2-3 times before they return it back to you, because nobody's living inside of a PO box unless they're a mouse or some type of insect, right? Don't put signature confirmation. Send it with just a tracking number. So now you wait 2, 3, 4 weeks go by, and then they send, they'll send you in the mail either the license, or they'll send you your entire application back and say, look, something wasn't filled out properly. We need more information from you. Or, hey, look, where's our $36? That's what they'll do. So it's important, like, if you're not trying to have a delay, make sure everything is correct. Make sure everything that's on that checklist that I showed you is checked off, is complete, right? So you wait, you get the stuff in the mail, or they kick it back. So now there are some things that you need to do once you get your security license, right? So your security guard registration is good for 2 years, right? In that 2 years, you need to do, as an unarmed guard, you need to do 2 8-hour annuals. 2 8-hour annuals, right? So let me break that down for you. 8-hour annual is just a combination of, just say, the 8-hour and the 16-hour, right? It's just a combination just to keep you fresh. If any laws have changed, it'll be updated in those presentations. So you have to take those. You have to take it 2 times in a 2-year period. So to keep it simple, some people do, hey, look, I'm going to take 1 8-hour every year of my registration period. So year 1, I'll take an 8-hour renewal. Year 2, I'll take an 8-hour renewal. Or, I'm not going to lie, when I was younger, when I was a fresh security guard, I was a slacker with maintaining my license. Like, I never let it lapse. But I never did 1 and 1 in the 2-year period. Like, I was so busy working, trying to grow and establish businesses, doing other things that I don't want to mention in an open forum. I would wait to the last second, to be quite honest. I would wait for like 2, 3, 4 weeks before I expire to, even though if I wasn't working as a guard, I still wanted to maintain it. There were some jobs where they would say, look, you can't be a security guard. You're about to do this, 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 and this, which is greater than a security guard. Why you want to, and I'm like, whatever. So maintain, I would maintain it no matter what. But I would wait like right before I expire to get stuff done, which means I need to rush to find a school who can do 2 8 hours in like a week, which is, to me, it's ridiculous, but it's my fault. It's our fault. We waited so long. We need to have that stuff if we want to maintain it. So I'd have to rush, find a school. On Monday, let's call it, I would have to sit for the entire 8-hour, right? Pay for that. Just say Tuesday, the very next day, I have to sit for 8 hours for the same exact thing that I heard yesterday. Like, come on now. But again, whose fault is that? It's my fault for waiting so long. So in all reality, you can do that, but the closer it gets to your expiration date, the riskier it gets that you may expire, right? So if you did what I did and I expired next week, what's the chances of the state not processing it in time? Is the state, the state deals with hundreds of thousands of maybe security guards in the state of New York and paperwork and other things like that, right? So why would you think you're that special that, in 7 days they're going to process it? They may not. They may be busy, they may not be busy, right? So you can't count on that they're going to get your stuff in time. And, what you need to do is you need to just keep it simple. Do 1 course every year. And if that's really too difficult and you do what I did, which I'm not recommending, you don't want to cut it so close you're going to expire. So just, you could do that, but make sure it's weeks in advance before you expire. And just understand you would have to sit for the same exact course, pay the same exact money, hear the same exact stuff 2 times, 8 hours, 16, 16 hours in 2 days, which is, oh my goodness. For me, it's like, but at any rate, it was my fault. A lot of people do it that way as well. So, just try to keep it simple. You need to do 2 8-hour annuals unarmed within your registration period, which is 2 years. Year 1, do it. Year 2, do it. Right? So make sure you get the certificates. You hold the certificates, right? So now you are a security guard for a year and a half, right? And the state's been very good about this lately with sending out renewal forms. Not only that, oh my God, the state did this wonderful thing recently. Right? So they were understanding that people were either losing their renewal forms, or they're understanding that maybe they lost some. I'm sorry, guys, at the state. It's not knocking you. Don't shut us down. But what I'm saying is, there's a possibility something could be lost. We're all human, right? So, at any rate, the state did this wonderful thing recently, and I want to show you what it is, because for the longest time as security guards. Sorry about that, but I got camera systems and vibration and thermal sensors and everything, that I monitor in real time, in vehicles and houses and things like that. So if my phone rings, just because I'm doing a podcast doesn't mean, I'm not, I'm ignoring you guys or anything like that. But security never stops. So at any rate, state did this wonderful thing, and oh my God, I was shocked when I found out. So the state understands sometimes security guards lose their renewal forms, or somehow the renewal forms get lost or never sent, or people don't update their address like you're supposed to, right? So if you move, you're supposed to update your address with New York State, right? Did you know that? Because now if they send your renewal form, all right, let's think about years ago. If they sent your renewal form to your old address, you never got it, trying to get another renewal form before you expire was like non-existent. You would probably expire, or they would say, hey, look, we're going to mail you another one, and you would just have to wait. It was a pain in the neck, right? Anyone who's been a security guard for a while knows that the renewal form was a problem, right? So the state came up with, let me see if I can find it, and I'll show you on the screen in just a minute. The state came up with, oh my God, this is wonderful. And if you guys are watching, thank you for coming up with this idea. So the state came up with, now you can electronically request the form. They can send it to you. They can you could submit an electronic request for the form, and to get it right, all I did, right, I went to Google, google.com. And let's see. And what I do? Okay, New York State Security Guard renewal form, something along those lines, right? And then I clicked here, and then you can even go here, right? Renewal form, request form. Fill out your information, send it to them. They'll send it to you in their preferred method, and then you have it. I mean, how wonderful is that now? That's wonderful, because now they created a very simple form where they can send you the form, whether it was yours was lost or whatever, and now you can get it. So yeah, I think that was a great idea, and it's wonderful. So let's recap. So we already spoke about some of the things that need to be done to become a security guard in the state of New York, right? You understand, obviously, once you get licensed, you have to maintain your license, right? So it's important to know that. So some other things, I don't really want to branch off because, oh my goodness, I'm realizing that I'm coming up on an hour again. Podcast with one person, they're not supposed to be an hour. I mean, are they? Do you enjoy it? I mean, it's up to you. You're the viewer. So, 10, these are becoming like training videos, like, but at any rate, it's helpful information. The ultimate goal is to help people, right? So, you do all of that, you become a security guard. Great. Now go out, look for a job, right? If you meet what we're looking for at Mid-Hudson Security Consultants, hey, maybe we'll offer you a job, right? I'm a firm believer in starting from the bottom and working your way up, earning your keep, right? Coming from a military family, that's our belief, right? You earn your keep, you work your way up, right? So, we're going to start you where we think you would fit as a new security guard to get the most experience, and then build your way up, coach you along the way, help you any way you need, and maybe one day we can transition you from unarmed to armed, right? Armed is where the money's at, right? But it's not just about money and carrying a gun, right? So carrying a gun as an armed guard is a huge liability and is a huge responsibility. What you do with that firearm may cost you your job or your life, right? Cost you your money, right? So it's important. It's not just about, oh my God, I got a gun on my hip. Now I'm going to tell people what to do. I'm going to beat my chest out. No, it's a complete opposite, right? Gun. People don't even care you have a gun on your hip anymore. You think people are attacking cops right now. You think, they're scared to get shot. No, they don't have. People don't care anymore about guns. People have lost fear and respect for individuals. I'm not saying because you have a gun you need to be respected, because there could be some a-holes who have a gun and nobody respects them. But at any rate, right, people don't care you got guns anymore, right? They'll take the gun right off your hip if they had to. So there's a whole lot of training and personality that needs to go into being able to be an armed guard. And like I said, we mold new employees up. But to be honest, we really only place law enforcement, retired law enforcement, military, corrections in those roles first, right? So, but yeah, so that's the whole process. I hope you guys may have learned something today. And, I want to thank you for coming on. And if you have any questions or you want to hear anything, obviously use any of the links. Contact us in any of the Facebook pages in the link description. We'll respond to your request eventually, time permitting. And yeah, just come back for the next one and let's just engage and we'll move forward from there. So I want to thank you for coming on today, and stay safe out there, right? You're not a cop, okay? Don't get arrested. Don't get sued, all right? And don't get killed, by the way, too. It's a crazy world out there right now. So at any rate, I'll see you later.